Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. And here we are on this Sunday, a moving fast Sunday in the world of college football. And the Gators are included in that. Of course, after all the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes, here we are on this Sunday where Florida does end up hiring Tulane head coach Jon Sumrall. And we even get the news that Dave Caldwell, reported as the next general manager for the Gators. So we'll get into all that. We'll get into what Florida had to say, what many of you don't care, what Scott Stricklin had to say, what Jon Sumrall had to say about choosing the Gator job, a little bit of excitement for an offense not really soundbite, but quote that he put out there. We'll get into all of it too. The reaction to it all. There's a lot to dive into with this one. I am going to have, hopefully it works out better this time, Gators Breakdown Plus member chat included in this live at the same time. Hopefully no technical difficulties this time. I think I have that squared away. We will see, I guess. But yeah, we'll go try that again as well. But certainly a very eventful, busy day as the Gators hired their next head coach, and that being Jon Sumrall from Tulane. So I know there's a very polarizing hire. Not a lot of excitement behind it, understandably so. But certainly my angle to it all, and I've said this before, said it last night, I believe, when we're talking about this, certainly a wait and see approach. Going to have support right away, and that's just the way I'm going to go about it. It's not credit to him for all the noise that's been out there about him being the hire and still wanting to come to Florida after Auburn pursued and it looked like it was almost a done deal there. Ole Miss was certainly going to pursue depending on what happened with Lane Kiffin. But then when the Kiffin news of it not being Florida started filtering out and Jon Sumrall's name being the one that was floated out there most, there was a lot of negative feedback to that. And I get it. Like I said, this is not a very exciting hire coming off of what we just saw under Billy Napier. But I still think deserves the support from Gator Nation. And, I've said the whole time, I knew it's not going to happen, and understandably so. I can't tell people how to spend their money and all that. The support behind the scenes as well. Certainly not going to be as high as it was with Lane Kiffin from a lot of the booster buy-in and NIL dollars that were probably going to be there from the excitement of Lane Kiffin, not likely to be there. Still enough to be good, still enough to be competitive at the University of Florida, but so much wait and see is now going to be in this hire and not really hitting the ground running as much as possible. So, good friend of mine, Tony, just texted me as we're sitting here. I'm all in. LFG, you know what that means. So, this was bound to happen as well. I mentioned it last night when I was in the stadium. And this whole message of we should just give up on Florida football. Nobody should care. Nobody should go to the games, all that. No. You won't find me in that regard. A lot of us are going to support. And support no matter what. Is that good? Is that bad? That's up for you to decide. However you want to go about it, I can't tell you. I don't even necessarily disagree with you. After what we have seen on this football field for the last 15 years. Not great. Not great. And if you feel like you've been kicked in the gut over and over again, if you feel like the administration does not care as much as you do over and over again, I can't blame you. Not one bit. Because that's exactly what it looks like. But fan is sort of fanatical. And with a new hire, there's going to be the natural excitement of a new hire. And there's going to be a lot of, for many out there, unbridled support. And you're just going to support. And he deserves our support as the next head coach. You don't have to support Scott Stricklin by supporting Jon Sumrall. You don't have to support the UAA by supporting Jon Sumrall. All that stuff can still be true. All that stuff, you can raise your voice, you can yell, you can blame all you want to. And there's a lot of substance behind that. You can still get behind the head coach at the same time. Now, you may not like that's the hire, and I understand it. There's a lot of questions here. This isn't a hit the ground running, but Not many options were. And that's why Lane Kiffin was far and away the top of the choice. You can hit the ground running, and we'll go from there. We like our chances better than we did with everybody else. But then after that, Lincoln Riley's name, of course, was coming up, and it's starting to come out. Like I said, the reports that were there yesterday that Florida didn't consider him, which is foolish. I completely agree. Everything I've chased around on that turns out to be true. That Florida wanted Stricklin, UAA, administration, high-level booster, did not want anything to do with Lincoln Riley. Foolish move. Okay, there we go. Now you got to start going down the list a little bit because there weren't many that were, I think, actually attainable that you felt good about hitting the ground running. If you would bring up Brent Key's name, people didn't like that. If you brought up Eli Drinkwitz's name, people didn't like that. If you brought up Jed Fish, you didn't like that. James Franklin, you didn't like that. Now, I'm not saying that same person didn't like all those. I'm just saying you'd have a section of the fan base did not like that. Section of the fan base didn't like this hire, did not like that hire. You are not going to get many with the same vision of this hitting the ground running. So now we're left with hope. We're left with projection. And that's the worry here, that Florida's doing a move like this once again when it has not been too kind to Florida in recent years. Now, you got the up-and-comer in Steve Spurrier in 1990, and it worked. And you got a bonus benefit of him being an alum and a Heisman Trophy winner. And you paired all that together. He was the up-and-comer and got it done at Florida. Urban Meyer, the up-and-comer, the splash hire, got done. But we've been down that road. Besides Dan Mullen, who had SEC experience, was at Florida before too. Besides that, it's been the up-and-comer route. DC Will Muschamp, head coaching waiting there at Texas. Jim McElwain, because the up-and-comer, but Bama background didn't work. Billy Napier, of course, a lot of comparisons here because of a similar track to what we get with Jon Sumrall. A lot of projection in those hires. A lot of hope in those hires. Not a lot to really fall back on those hires. At least when it comes to SEC football or Power 4 football, improving results. The only guys in that mark were pretty much James Franklin. If you wanted years of Power 4 experience, that was about the only route you were going to get if you didn't get Lane Kiffin or Lincoln Riley. Years of Power 4. That was the next one. Everybody else was pretty short on the experience side of things. The Jed Fish, the Brent Keys of the world. There was even going to be some projection in those guys. Not as much as what we're getting here. But that was the way this coaching search was going to lay out. So here we are. We're going to hope. I hope we're going to support. And if it doesn't work, okay, we'll do it all over again. But obviously after this, maybe try and come back around on the back end of this. The administration, the UAA, the message from them, completely different than what we want as a fan base. The alignment, all that stuff does just not seem to be there like we hoped it would be. Will that doom this hire? I guess we'll see. But you're right to feel, here we go again. You're also right to support. Can you hedge? Probably. You're right. Don't blame you at all. Don't blame you at all. So let's get to the news. Let's get to it all. We'll come back around to a lot of these storylines. I know we will. And it'll be more my reaction to what you guys have to say and all, and all that. And we'll come back around to it all. Big Blue Horses. Let me get to some of the comments in here of the super chats. It's UF leaders that need our outrage, not the head coach. Like that. Agree. RK Wood 6533. Sumrall seems adaptable, but his offense looks like JV. You mean JV offense? What do you think? We'll get into it all right here. Certainly, we'll get to the statement that he made about the offense today, and then we'll kind of go from there. To your point, not a lot stands out. Maybe some reason for that this year for Tulane. And we'll go. Choking Platypus says, fire Sumrall is already dumb. Waiting on offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, hire announcements before I totally turn on him. GM gives me hope. Want to see Sumrall do well after UAA. There we go. You can live in both worlds. You absolutely can. You absolutely can. And we all know this. Winning solves all. Sumrall comes in here and wins. Some of that other stuff would be overlooked. Not all of it. It shouldn't be. And while there probably will be some changes coming up in the UAA, does it really matter when the guys above them, when you have a little small handful of people just making all the decisions anyway, certainly seem to not be taking considerations of others, doing their own thing. And it still could work out. Jon Sumrall could end up being a good hire. And this maybe quote unquote rogue move by some of the higher ups at Florida, it may work out. They better hope it works out. Well, I say that, but what's going to change? Nothing's changed yet. So that's why I say support how you want to support. I can't tell you. If you're disappointed in the way everything has turned out, I don't blame you at all. I mean, off of these two comments here, it's kind of where we go here. Chris Brizzle, I hope I'm saying that right, or C Brizzle. Scott Stricklin got to go. King's Los, Gary Condren is to blame for this hire. No need for me to rehash all those storylines. We know what the talk is right there. And that's part of the reason it looks like you're here. I hope it works out anyway. For Jon Sumrall, for Gator Nation. I don't want to be here again in 3-4 years. That seems to be the cycle. I don't want to be talking about another head coach. I hope it works out. I'm tired of watching our Gators lose. So for risk of avoiding that, yes, it would make a lot of sense to say, well, I hope this doesn't work out because of Stricklin and booster involvement. I get that angle, but I'm tired of seeing this team lose. I'm hoping for the best, and maybe what can work out on the other side can still work out. Believe me, there's a lot of people not happy. A lot of people feel fooled about how this turned out in the last couple of days and what's come out in the last couple of days. And they should. So if that puts some doubt in this working out, I get it. I completely get it. But let's support along the way. Let's wait and see. No need to doom the hire before we even see the guy coach a game, before he even hires coordinators. I think you can separate the two. I'm going to try my best to. All right, let's get into the news. One more, before we do, everybody hit that like button. Subscribe right here on Gators Breakdown. We're going to be talking about it all week. Just a lot to talk about. This will not be, if we don't get hit on something tonight or today, it might be tomorrow. It might be Tuesday. We got the press conference with Jon Sumrall and Scott Stricklin tomorrow. We'll see where that goes and what we get out of that. But obviously, there's a lot to discuss here. And whether it be deep dives into stats and all that stuff, we will get to it. I promise. But on the day of, I think it's a lot of reaction. I was catching back up on the news part of it. In case you missed anything, we'll get caught up on Jon Sumrall, the hire, Dave Caldwell, the GM. But there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of coverage this week. So you want to be subscribed to Gators Breakdown right here on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. Hit that like button. Really, really helps us out. And if you want to take part in the chat, of course, you can go to gatorsbreakdownplus.com. Join there. Only $3 a month. We've got a lot of rave reviews so far. A lot of new members so far. If you want to take part in just a regular chat and have your voice heard, you can do it right there. You can take place in the voice chat that you're going to hear in just a little bit. Ad-free episodes of Gators Breakdown. If you want even more interaction, gatorsbreakdownplus.com. All right, let me get to the Florida statement here. Let's pull that up. University of Florida names Jon Sumrall head coach. He is the 31st head football coach in program history. Sumrall brings extensive coaching and playing experience in the SEC. joins the Gators after engineering rapid turnarounds at 2 different programs. I'm already going to pause right there. He didn't have a turnaround at Tulane. Willie Fritz built Tulane. Sumrall came in after. He didn't build up Tulane like he did Troy. Now, the turnaround at Troy, absolutely. That's true. The turnaround at Tulane, I'm going to go look that up, but don't think that was the case here because he's been here the last 2 years. Yeah. 12-2 in 2022, 11-3 in 2023. So then he went 9-5 last year in his first year, and then 10-2 this year. So Tulane was, he wasn't turning around Tulane. So already in the opening statement here, had to fight back on a little bit right there. Still kept it up in some ways. So joins the Gators after engineering rapid turnarounds at 2 different programs, guiding his teams to championship game appearances in every season he has served as a head coach. Known for his energy, leadership, program building skills, and consistent results, Sumrall will officially take over the Gators program following the conclusion of Tulane's season. So there you go. There's one of the first little info bits right there. After Tulane's season, they play in a conference championship game this weekend. Likely to make the playoff if they win that, or that's their path to the playoff. So we don't even know when Jon Sumrall will fully be in here at Florida. I'm sure there'll be some double duty coming up in regards to that, but a conference championship game this weekend, they lose that, he'll start right away. They make the playoff, whenever that'll be. Of course, I'm sure they'll be on the road the first game of the playoff, so maybe looking at mid-December. Mid-December, a little past mid-December before he's fully here. Signing days this week. So, of course, that's going to play a part. Like I said, a little bit of double duty. Transition class, of course. So take that for what it's worth. Most of the time, those aren't worth a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. We'll see what it can do with the current Gator commits and maybe bringing anybody else along in the next few days. So, yeah, Tulane will compete in the American Athletic Conference Championship game on December 5th. A win would likely propel the Green Wave to the college football playoff. Quote, Jon Sumrall is a proven winner and an exceptional leader who has built successful programs at every stop, Scott Stricklin says. He brings tremendous energy, strong recruiting relationships across our footprint, and a philosophy rooted in toughness, discipline, and player development. He will cultivate a daily culture of competitiveness, accountability, and winning that drives success on the field and throughout our program. Jon fully understands the expectations at the University of Florida, including our expectations to produce championship teams that feature a dynamic offense, and we're excited to welcome him and his family to Gator Nation. So the first time right there, that offense is brought up by itself, including our expectations to produce championship teams that feature a dynamic offense. When we were talking about getting our next Florida head coach, Billy Napier on the way out, the thought, now Scott Stricklin never said this, but the thought would be a sitting power forward coach and one with an offensive background. We don't get a power forward coach, and we get one with a defensive background. So obviously, it has been a focus in everything that has come out since the hire to focus on offense. We'll see. Not lost on me, though, that it's certainly being brought up. Despite only returning 4 starters this season, Sumrall has guided number 22, number 24 Tulane to a 10-2, 7-1 record and a spot in the conference championship game in back-to-back seasons. He has now made 4 conference championship game appearances in his first 4 years as a head coach, becoming the only coach in FBS history to do so at 2 different schools. Troy before this in the Sun Belt. Kind of funny. Napier leaves Louisiana, comes to Florida. Who takes over the success in the Sun Belt? No other than Jon Sumrall at Troy before he comes to Tulane. Sumrall, 43, has developed a reputation as one of college football's top young coaches during his tenures at Troy and Tulane. and currently owns the 5th highest winning percentage among active FBS coaches at 42-11 with about a 79% winning percentage, trailing only Ryan Day, Dan Lanning, Kirby Smart, and Kurt Signetti. He is also widely regarded as a strong recruiter with deep ties throughout the Southeast, including Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, and Tennessee. Sumrall has earned consistent praise for his talent identification, player development, and ability to connect with student athletes and their families. Quote, this is from Jon Sumrall. The University of Florida is one of the premier programs in college football, and it's an incredible honor to serve as the head football coach. I believe in building a team rooted in toughness, accountability, and a relentless competitive spirit. Florida has everything necessary to compete at the highest level: the resources, the support, the tradition, and the passion of Gator Nation. My family and I are excited to get to work. Here's the kicker. One of my first priorities will be to assemble an incredible staff, including an offensive coordinator who understands that at Florida, having an explosive offense isn't optional, it's mandatory, with an exclamation mark. So, there you go. From Stricklin to Sumrall, both mentioning offense. Certainly on purpose. That is not by mistake. It's words right now. It's words right now. You're not bringing Tulane staff with you and expecting this explosive offense. I mean, if you say you understand that, you're not bringing Tulane staff with you to get there. You're hiring an offensive coordinator that's more proven to be this explosive reputation that we're speaking of and that we want. Now, this is not a Billy Napier scenario where you're bringing all your buddies and trying to get it done. So now the point here is Sumrall, being a defensive coach, has to hire an offensive coordinator. So, this isn't an offensive head coach and thinking he can get it done like Billy Napier did. Mandatory. Just like our offense being explosive is mandatory, it's going to be mandatory you bring in an offensive coordinator. In his first season as Tulane's head coach, Sumrall guided the Green Wave to their 3rd straight American Athletic Conference Championship game. So there you go. They kind of went against themselves from the earlier part of having to build up Tulane when he took them to their 3rd straight American Athletic Conference Championship game in his first season. And that was a bowl appearance against Florida last year. Everybody remember that. His first year at Tulane was last year. His team finished 1st or 2nd in the conference in 10 statistical categories, including leading the league in 3rd down conversions, defensive touchdowns, completion percentage, scoring offense with 37.2, and pass efficiency defense. Tulane led the nation in defensive touchdowns and produced a league-high 18 all-conference selections right there in the AAC. So you go back to last year, and that's Darian Mensah at quarterback, who now is at Duke. He did not play versus Florida in the bowl game last year, but 65.6% completion percentage, 37.2 scoring offense. Certainly fell down this year, having to replace him as he entered the portal last year. Tulane not bringing in their quarterback until July, the BYU transfer. I forget his name off the top of my head, but that was their situation. Only have 4 starters returning this year. So if you want a little bit of defense of why the offense maybe dropped down from last year to this year, there's your excuse. There's your reason. As the head coach at Troy in 2022 and 2023, Sumrall engineered one of the nation's most impressive program turnarounds, leading the Trojans to back-to-back Sun Belt championships, consecutive 12-win seasons, and multiple national rankings. He was named Conference Coach of the Year and twice was a finalist for the Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year award. Troy's 23 victories across the 2022 and 2023 seasons were tied for the 3rd most nationally, trailing only Georgia, Michigan, and Washington. Troy and Michigan were the only 2 programs to win conference titles in both seasons. Sumrall, 3-year letter winner at middle linebacker at Kentucky from 2002 to 2004. He led the Wildcats with 72 tackles his senior year, standout off the field as well, named the SEC Academic Honor Roll. He spent 5 seasons at the University of San Diego beginning in 2007, including 2 years as a defensive coordinator before returning to Tulane for a 3-year stint as defensive coordinator. Sumrall served as an assistant head coach at Troy from 2015 to 2017, then spent 4 seasons in the SEC at Ole Miss in 2018 and at Kentucky from 2019 to 2020. And again as defensive coordinator in 23 before becoming Troy's head coach. Sumrall's approach aligns with Florida's emphasis on excellence, athletically, academically, and personally. He is known to build strong relationships with student athletes, fostering team first cultures, assembling high-performance staffs aligned with the vision. Jon leads with integrity, communicates with clarity, holds himself and his teams to the highest standards, Scott Stricklin said. He is the right leader to lead Florida towards the elite success of all that the Gators desire. All right, so here we go. Little bit more notes right here. What they're saying about Jon Sumrall. So, of course, Florida putting this out. Obviously, it's a PR piece. That's what you're going to get right here. But head coach Steve Spurrier, I'm 100% supportive of hiring Coach Sumrall. He's an excellent choice and has a track record to prove it. He's a young coach on the way up, certainly has a winning record, produced winning teams. He's coaching in his 4th straight league championship game Friday night. He's a proven winner. He'll bring a little more fire and emotion to our team. Little notice there from the head ball coach. I guess that part lacking from Billy Napier beforehand. Danny Werfel, of course, he's put out a Twitter video since. He had to say, I got a chance to talk with Jon Sumrall. Really excited for him to be our new coach. He is a winner. His passion is contagious. He's a great leader of men. And for those offensive-minded folks like me, he understands us and is committed to hiring an elite offensive coordinator. I'm as excited to be a Gator as I've been in a long time. Guys, it should not be lost on us. And it does not have to mean anything in the end. But you can obviously see the PR spin about the offensive side of the football here. We know all the things that held the last offense back, the last staff back. And to me, I don't think this is some made-up narrative. I think it was probably communicated very well. And as much as we don't like the process from Scott Stricklin and the hiring process and all that, I'm pretty sure the offensive side was brought up about this and having to fix that side of the ball and what Florida Gator fans expect. Could it be lip service? Sure. Sure it can be. But let's see the hires. Let's see the approach. And then we'll go from there. 2-time national championship coach Urban Meyer. What a special day for Gator Nation. Jon is one of the top young coaches in the game. I've studied Coach Sumrall and have gotten to spend some time with him. His teams are tough, physical, and he creates a competitive environment. Look forward to getting to know him even more and the special things he would do at Florida. Yeah, obviously that kind of confirms a report that Urban Meyer has some things to do with this hire as well. I think once the pivot from Lane Kiffin, or maybe even during or right before the pivot, started getting Urban Meyer involved with the Jon Sumrall hire here. And I wouldn't be surprised if Meyer has some, maybe even minimal role in helping out Jon Sumrall here in the transition, learning about Florida, input where he can get it. Wouldn't be surprised there. Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Liam Cohen. He's an absolute stud. I've got a ton of respect for Jon Sumrall as a man, as a person, as a coach. He can connect with all walks of life. Recruits, there's not many better recruiters I've been around at all positions, not just on defense, but the entirety of it. And I know his teams play their tail off. That's something you've just continued to see. So I know, as I said, this is part of the PR of it. Does it mean these things are true? Does it mean these things are not true? Believe me, I know. Go back to when Billy Napier was hired and the people I had on the podcast from Louisiana and from Alabama and all the rave reviews that we were getting that made us all excited. Part of the process here. Actually, it's going to happen. So, but obviously, coming from Florida, they're going to boost him up a bit. There's a bit more notes in here. So a lot of them were in what I had to say earlier. So there you go. There's what Florida had to put out about all this. And comments from Scott Stricklin, comments from Jon Sumrall about where this thing's going to go. Blue Collar Crab, let me get some of these comments in. How does the university go about getting rid of Scott Stricklin? What can we do as a collective do? I mean, voice your displeasure as much as you want to. With him just signing a contract extension, I don't know if anything happens there. I very, very, very seriously doubt it. I hate to say it, your critiques will fall more than likely on deaf ears. Not a permanent president in place. So I don't even know how he got an extension in the first place, honestly. If you're basing it on a basketball national championship, that's foolish. But I don't know how he got it. So now it digs the hole deeper for Florida to try and get rid of him. So I keep voicing your displeasure. That's really all I can say. And maybe something comes of it. I would not bet on it. Cody Moore bringing up here on the Super Chats. Thank you guys so much. Sumrall needs to get an electric offensive coordinator with a high-powered offense to spark the energy in the fan base. Yeah, I mean, we'll see the names out there. Cade Bell's the name that's thrown around a little bit more. The Pitt OC, I think, leading the ACC in offense right now. Of course, the connection to Kerwin Bell, his dad, growing up in Gainesville. I know with all those angles, many people would like that. So we'll see where that goes. I think he would be one name. Charlie Weiss Jr.'s name was brought up a bit, but certainly seems like now probably with everything that's happening at Ole Miss, probably sticking around there. Maybe. We'll see. But that's another name that's been floated out, connected to Florida a year ago if Billy Napier was going to hire one. But we'll see. We'll see. Brian Dable name came up, the Giants coach who just got fired this year. I think Kevin Brockway with the connection to Dave Caldwell from the NFL. I'm trying to make another NFL connection. I don't know how deep that goes, but that's the names that's been thrown out. We'll see where it goes. You cannot bring, I don't even know the guy's name, the Tulane offensive coordinator. You can't do that. It's not going to spark any excitement there. There hasn't been any excitement to point to, even stat-wise, to say, okay, that's going to work. And what's the first thing we do if we don't know the person's name? We're going to go and see where they rank on some, on some rankings out there. Is that the end-all, be-all? No, but it gives us a pretty good indication, especially if you're going to talk about excitement. Let's see. Silver W23, you can tell they're worried. All the former players coming out with statement, all damage control. Yeah, it likely is. It likely is. Now, some of them can mean it as well. I'm not sure if any of them are really lying, but you can tell it's a concerted effort to come out of what we've heard and seen the last couple of days to try and build some confidence in where this thing is going. Definitely happening. Mr. Wiggs says Mr. Wiggs 5027. Sorry, Dave, but I'll support him when he beats 3 top 10 teams in FS Poo in the same season. Until then, I only support the players and the logo. Too much damage has been done. Go Gators. I don't fault you. I don't fault you. I would support the coach as well, but man, I'm telling you, I know we're tired of being beat over the head and saying, "Hey, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is the way it needs to be, and it's going to work." And then here we are again. Now, I love your part about the players, absolutely, and for them as well. We'll see who stays. We'll see who comes. Enter the transfer portal. From the transfer portal, the high school ranks. And I'm even, kind of going back to the Jon Sumrall part of this. I mean, the noise has been loud the last couple of days. And when he would make a tweet or somebody would make a tweet about him and he got tagged in it and stuff, believe me, I saw all the blowback from Gator Nation. And I'm sure could have backed out of any time in the last couple of days. And he didn't. And certainly turned down Auburn to come to Florida. Didn't want to wait to see what would happen at Ole Miss, where he had some connections, by the way, to maybe try and take that job. He was sold on the Florida job. So with all the noise and all the negativity, I'm giving him credit for, I'm going to go there and try it anyway. Now he's getting paid, and I think it's $7.5 million a year, so not much more than, right around the same area as Billy Napier. So yes, he's getting handsomely rewarded. But you hear about the competitive spirit. We've heard about all the noise surrounding him the last couple of days and just getting trashed online. He wants to come to Florida anyway. But I'll get you, man. Too much damage has been done. I completely agree. And look, maybe it sounds like I'm hedging and all that, but I certainly want to give the guy support. But I understand where you're coming from. Let's see. Eugene Osteen, Kate Bell's offense and a high turnover defense. Take that if he can produce it in the SEC. Just really difficult to hear Lane Train to now Sumrall. And we knew that's what was going to happen. We all knew it. It was going to be all, at least from the fan base side, certainly didn't seem to be from the administration side, all eggs in the Lane Kiffin basket. Then once that didn't happen, honestly, there were only maybe Lincoln Riley, maybe James Franklin from some people, but not really. There weren't many names that were going to recover from this. And we'll get into the Save America says new GM record with the Jags, 39-86 from 2013 to 2020. Yep, I know. We'll get into that in just a second. RK Wood is asking about OC-DC. I mentioned OC just a second ago. DC, one name that was floated out there was Blake Baker, the LSU defensive coordinator, of course. Lane Kiffin might be keeping him at LSU, and then he wants to put his name into the mix for the Tulane job that is now open because Sumrall coming to Florida. So I don't know what the likelihood of that would be. Another defensive coordinator, I'm not sure. I haven't went down the list yet. One thing that could come out of this, though, talking about his staff from Tulane, bringing Bam Hardman home. Early 2000s linebacker for the Gators. Maybe bringing him home. He's on staff there. Was on staff at Troy with Jon Sumrall. Now at Tulane. Bringing him on staff? Yeah, sure. I mean, you're not bringing everybody. You're not bringing a whole lot from that staff. But one that's a former Gator that you have a rapport with that's been on staff, I don't see much issue in that. RK Wood, one more time. Lane lost to Napier. Let that sink in. Yeah, I know. I know. Hey, Dave, when can Sumrall start contacting potential Gator recruits and current players? He can now. Signing day's coming up. Now, I forget about dead period dates. I don't know. Is it dead? We're in the dead period now. I don't know. I got to find some dates here. I keep forgetting about that. Anyway, I don't know. Whenever, if there's a dead period, no, he can't right now. But if it's open right now, I don't remember the date off the top of my head. There's no signing days this week. So something like that. But current players, you can talk to him now. He's the head coach of Florida right now. So he can contact those guys. All right, let me get to the GM side of this thing, and then I'll open up the Gators Breakdown Plus member chat. And that's how we'll finish out this episode. Program now reported to be bringing in Dave Caldwell as general manager. Caldwell, about 3 decades of NFL front office experience. Of course, many people remember him from the Jaguars from 2013 to 2020. Not a lot of success there. The 8 years at Jacksonville, 37-86. About a 30% win record there, among the league's worst. Was dismissed in 2020 after a 1-15 season. Certainly the poor draft results there for the Jaguars. I mean, look, he wasn't the only bad part, being here in Jacksonville and following the Jaguars. Been some bad head coaching hires as well. So you combo a lot of those things, but certainly not a good resume here as far as a GM with the Jags. 2 of his 9 first-round selections earned second contracts with the Jaguars. Still showed skill in uncovering some late-round talent. So in 2021, Philadelphia Eagles hired Caldwell as a personnel executive. GM Howie Roseman, of course, he's a Florida grad, elevated Caldwell to senior personnel director and advisor to the GM in 2022. Caldwell contributed to the recent Super Bowl victories of the Philadelphia Eagles. So your best bet, Howie Roseman, is recommending Dave Caldwell here. Hopefully that works out. Assessing, Caldwell's college fit is odd. Talked about not having a lot of success. But we also talk about all the time with NFL head coaches, if they fail at that level, what does that mean in college? A lot of times there's no correlation to it. A failed NFL head coach does not mean a failed college coach. We're seeing that with Lane Kiffin right now. We're going to have to learn what that means for GMs because we're now in this new GM world of college football. We don't know what it means to be a failed NFL GM now to come to the college ranks. I mean, the roles differ so much. Talent evaluation, certainly, but the talent evaluation is different from getting a high school guy to come to college than from scouting college guys to go to the NFL. A lot of the development's happening at the college level. They got the free farm system the NFL does with college football. But talent evaluation, certainly instrumental in both, and that's where the track record Woodway is concerned. Had a lot of Pro Bowlers as a Jaguar GM. So it's not unique to him. For the Jaguars, it's been multiple regimes. Not just Dave Caldwell as GM for a lot of failures. He had a long leash now. He was there for a long time. They let him fail a lot. So you got to think Florida with this and how you view a GM at the college level, administrative, and now the NIL side of everything, and the roster management side of things. I'm not sure how much of the talent evaluation he'll be a part of. The other side of it, the administration, NIL, roster management, might be more up his alley. So I think we got to get some more clarity on how much of the talent evaluation part he's going to be involved in. I would think some, given his background. And now maybe we talk about the reclamation projects all the time in college football for, especially for Saban in Alabama. Maybe it was a reclamation project for him to go to Philadelphia, get under Roseman, learn some things, and then go somewhere else. Certainly recommended here from a Florida alum. But his strengths might be more so administrator, NIL, roster management. A lot of experience, though. Scouting positions for the Carolina Panthers in 96, 97, Indianapolis Colts in 98 to 07, before advancing to director of college scouting and director of player personnel with the Falcons from 2008 to 2012. The Falcons at that time, 70% winning percentage. That's what got him the job in Jacksonville. And then one more tweet on that. Jeff Darlington, sources University of Florida, is set to make major structural move, finalizing a deal with Eagles executive and former Jaguars GM Dave Caldwell as GM of football operations. Caldwell helped build Jacksonville's 2017 AFC Championship roster and has spent the past 5 seasons shaping Philadelphia's Super Bowl teams. A significant addition to Florida's program. The program believes Caldwell's understanding of cap management and new age scouting will translate well to the new college landscape. Caldwell currently works with Eagles GM Howie Roseman, a Gator alum. There you go. So a little more positive outlook right there from Jeff Darlington, ESPN NFL reporter. Certainly want to show both sides to everything here. But there we go. There's your Dave Caldwell catch up. RK Wood one more time, and then I'll get the chat going. Jon Sumrall has 2 more championship titles than Lane. Dumpster fire Kiffin. I think Lane had conference title championships at FAU. But yeah, I guess Would that be 2 more? Okay. I don't know the exact numbers there. But yeah. Most hated people in recent history. We can Epstein, Stricklin, Bin Laden. Guys, trip me out there. Trip me out. All right. So let me make sure. I'm going to flip over to the chat. I will try and get some more of the YouTube comments in here too. Like I said, the only way I'm really going to see those is if they're in a super chat. Sorry, there's like 600 comments in there right now. Ain't no way I can go through all of them. Let me flip over to the Discord, and then let me see if I can have better success than I had earlier this week about getting this thing started and having the audio go through. So we'll bring Ryan in here because I know he was first. I'm going to test the audio with Ryan, and then we'll go from there.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
I see the level. I think I'm good, Ryan.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, let me.
Hey, I like that last comment about Bin Laden. That was funny.
People in the YouTube comments, please let me know if you can hear Ryan this time or anybody else on the other side of this, because that's how I found out last time. So, Ryan, we're going to keep going, and
okay.
and hopefully I'll get it here. But I will go into one part about the GM, and somebody did bring it in here. Esin Zetark. Okay, good. Everybody says they can hear it. We're good. Did say the GM hire was great. You know, Balky Bortles, the costly mistake there in Jacksonville. So there we go. One more angle to it all. But all right, Ryan, man, get us started. I know an eventful day. Always count on you to come in here with the chat, and certainly a different angle to it all right now, my friend.
Yeah, Dave. Appreciate you letting me in here. I spent most of yesterday angrily retweeting things I probably shouldn't have retweeted, and posting comments I probably shouldn't have been posting, just out of anger and I guess confusion about the whole process and how we got where we got. But I mean, it is what it is, and just like you, I'm definitely going to support the man. I'm going to give him every ounce of energy that I've given every other coach until he gives me a reason not to. I'm going to direct my anger at Scott Stricklin, just like I did all day yesterday. And I know it's not going to do any good, just like it didn't do any good yesterday. I'm like you. I think that's just falling on deaf ears. So it is what it is once again. So, yeah, I hope it works out, man. I mean, I don't have much to say about the GM. I don't really know much about him.
And I'm glad you brought up that part, because to me, it's so different, and I think we're still learning what a college GM does, and what it means. So, to me, I kind of just stay in neutral about that, because I honestly don't know. I don't know how you balance.
I'm not going to even try to have a take on that whatsoever, because like you, I don't really know what that's even going to entail right now. I mean, I'm assuming he's going to help. I figured he's going to be on the business side of making sure we get the players that Sumrall wants to get. He's going to identify, the staff's going to identify the players, and it's going to be up to the GM to manage that roster financially and all that. I mean, that's kind of how that's kind of what a GM does in the NFL. So if that's the model that we're going after, that's how I envision it, which kind of made no sense to me last year when we had LaFrance working under Billy Napier, and yet we were talking about an NFL model. It's like, well, that's not really how the NFL does it. They're two separate positions that would both report to the owner or the CEO, whoever runs the team.
And you had Nick Polk as well.
Yeah, I mean, we had two. So I don't really understand what we were doing or how, but this is a hired position from the athletic director, correct? He will be working for the university, not for the head coach, correct?
That is my understanding, but that is something I do want to get cleared up as well.
Okay.
I saw it now. I don't know how serious to take it, and I think it was a Barstool account that said that Caldwell was going to be going wherever Sumrall went. I don't think
that
so.
That don't make sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me either. I don't know there's a Sumrall connection to Dave Caldwell. With Howie Roseman being involved in a Florida alum, to me, it meant he's trying to get him a GM job at Florida. But like I said, there's still so much to learn about that. College football is still different. A lot of people will say it's like the NFL, or it's becoming like the NFL. The head coaches, to me, are still going to hold most of the power. And I don't.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if there's going, and I don't know how it's going to work in the world of college football, where you have where you had the GM and it worked that way. I don't know if
I think it's mostly just going to be about salaries. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. And if it's just that angle to it, maybe there's some relationship to NFL too, of head coaches and GMs that work better and well together. The expectations, you get that, but I can see a scenario in college football where you do have that, because these head coaches don't, the NIL side of it, they're still learning. It is still kind of new. The coaches don't want to be.
They don't want to have to deal with it.
There you go.
They
That's
just
right.
want to go out, recruit the player, and like, all right, you're going to talk to him about the rest.
Exactly. So in that regard, it becomes more like the NFL. If these guys just want to coach football and which they should. I don't want you having all this
worry about all the other stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, on to Sumrall. I mean, yes, it's a huge question mark. The everything you said about him, the fact that you had to stop in your second sentence from Stricklin's statement to correct him, I mean, just goes on. I mean, it's a wild card. I mean, who knows? A lot of people are praising, saying it's a home run hire. I know Kubelik said that. Like I said, I'm here for it. I hope he works out and turns out to be the next Saban, but I'm still going to have to see it to believe it. But I mean, we did it for Napier, so we'll give Napier 4 years, and we should at least give this guy a chance too. I mean, that's all there is to it for me. I mean,
and to me, that's more for him. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's nothing against him personally. I mean, he's had success wherever he's gone. I think it's for most of the fan base. We were sold Lane Kiffin, for 3 weeks, and some of us even for 2 years have been wanting Lane Kiffin. Me, I mean, I'm guilty. But once I finally got over the fact that that's not happening and this is who we are, I mean, you look at him. I listened to his the interview that he did with Wojciechowski or whatever his name is.
Oh yeah, I got to go back and watch that. I've been trying to get ready for the podcast.
I watched that. Now, some of his takes on the recruiting and paying players were a little, maybe that's because he's in the conference he's in, and when he's not on the Power 4 level. As opposed, I mean, that's we'll see. But yeah, I mean, if he goes out and just knocks the ball out of the park with the coordinator, then we'll have more reason to be hopeful. Recruiting, I'm not quite sold. I know Stricklin mentioned he's an ace recruiter. I don't really know there's much evidence to back that up. But once again, we'll see.
Yep, for sure. On that angle, Ryan, you can stay in here.
Okay. Yeah, bring him in. Bring him in.
But one Bill Sykes, is coming in, and Bill shared some recruiting trends. So I got to bring Bill in too, because he told me whoever the hire would be, this doesn't even matter that it's Sumrall, but this was a few weeks ago that he wanted to he was going to want to get his thoughts in here. So I've got him selected. We'll see if he hops in here. I know he had his hand up, but
come on, Bill.
I don't see him in here right now. Is that it?
Hey, Dave, can you hear me?
I gotcha.
Hey, man, thanks for letting me in.
Sure.
On the recruiting note, just going to put it to you short. There was no discernible impact from Sumrall at either Troy or Tulane. Now, I say that with this caveat. He did sign, I think, the fourth highest rated class in Tulane history back to 2002 with his transition class, but it was only ranked 64th. In the second class dipped, which is it's a very uncommon thing to happen, back down to 70th. It's just he hasn't proven anything in that regard. And I'm not down on him as a candidate. I think that the travesty here was the nature of this search, how sloppy it was on a messaging front.
Yeah.
Just letting all the dirty laundry air, and it could have been presented in a way that it would be much more palatable. Because the truth of the matter is, there is no magic formula to hiring a championship coach. They're a unicorn. There are only so many Urban Meyers and Kirby Smarts and Nick Sabans out there. You're lucky to get one every 5-10 years. And so they all have a better than 50-50 odds of failure. I just feel like they did him no favors in turning the ire of the fan base really towards the candidate who's just out of busting its hump.
Yeah.
He's at least a good coach, but can he recruit? Can he work the portal? Can he hire staff? We have no reason to believe that he can or cannot at this point. He is a mystery.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a good coach that's won at some small schools, but that's all we know.
Yeah, and I guess, when we get to levels of projection, that's where we're at here. With Lane Kiffin, it was less projection, and you had a bit more known quantity. James Franklin, a little bit known quantity. Then you get down to your Power 4 guys, and your Brent Keys and your Jed Fishes and your Eli Drinkowitz, and all right, well, at least they have maybe proven themselves a little bit more in the Power 4, whether it be in the SEC, not in the SEC. So a little bit more, a little bit less projection. And then, I think what gets everybody worried again is, I know all the comparisons about Billy Napier, but coming from the Sun Belt and coming from a lower conference now, it's going to cause more projection when you get down to, this far in the list. Because we know, especially now, we've heard from some reports about, using turnkey in a search firm. And look, there's no way if Florida was going to stick with the search firm, which it does not look like they did, Jon Sumrall was not going to be number 2 behind Lane Kiffin. No way, no how. But so with that, here we are. That's where the projection is going to come in a bit more because, we're having to go back down to a lower level. And, there's not a lot proven at the big time level here from Jon Sumrall. And as you said, doesn't mean it won't work. But now we're left to guess even more.
Yeah, that's right. Like, think about it like this. If you're hiring a podcaster, David Waters ought to be high up on the list. Maybe you look at me as a coordinator. I've been a co-host. I've got a little bit of a skill set, but you've got far and away, a greater experience base. And it's the same thing with coaches. We look at Lane Kiffin. The guy has developed quarterbacks repeatedly. That is a necessary skill at the University of Florida, or at least to bring a coordinator who can. He has landed a top 5 class. We haven't seen that from Sumrall. He has had 10-win seasons in the SEC. We haven't seen that from Sumrall. The reason we wanted Kiffin is not because we thought he was a perfect candidate, not because we thought he was without risk. I think we all knew he was either going to be a spectacular success or a spectacular failure. But with Sumrall, it's just an unknown. And I know that drives people crazy, but they really need to just shrug off. All the stuff about Kubelic and Urban Meyer's words, none of that means anything. Right. His attitude, I'm not saying an attitude doesn't matter. I mean, I think his attitude reflected some of the complacency that hurt him. But when it comes down to it, can you acquire talent? Can you coach that talent? Can you manage a staff that can win championships? That is all there is to this. And also, can you work the boosters and can you gain control of what is clearly a toxic administration?
Right.
And keep them in check while you're trying to build a champion team. None of this other stuff matters, and we're going to find out incrementally as we go. Yeah,
if being a fiery defensive guy was what you needed to be, Will Muschamp would have been successable.
That's exactly right. I mean, it doesn't matter how you work a podium. Now, working in a living room and recruiting, okay, there's some merit.
There's some merit. Okay. I like that. But I think going to that point is all the positive words. Look, they should be shared. Absolutely. And look, I do think it is part of a PR spin. Absolutely, it is. I was doing it myself when Billy Napier got hired, but it was more just for information. I mean, look, the guy had a lot of success at Louisiana. We didn't know what he was going to do at Florida. And same thing here with Sumrall, but it was like, all right, let's get some information on this coach. So I brought in Louisiana guys and guys who were, who knew about Alabama and Billy Napier's reputation there and what went on behind the scenes at these two schools and what happened in there. So a lot of that was off the field stuff, of course, because you really couldn't go back and point to where here's where Napier had this great passing offense back in blah, 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 whatever year it was. You weren't really going to find that, but it was to get to know more about the person himself. And it made us all excited, the uniformity and all the preparation behind the scenes and the staff and the army of staff and everybody getting tuxedos and or suits for travel and all that kind of stuff. It made us all excited, but all that stuff a lot of that was off the field, ended up not mattering a hill of beans.
Yeah, that's right. The proof is in the pudding. And I'm still looking, Dave, I'm going to continue to comb for data. I've even looked at some of the draft picks produced and there's just nothing discernible. That doesn't mean it's not there. And part of the problem with that is because he's coaching at smaller programs. No matter how good of a recruiter you are at Troy, you're just not going to pump out 3 first rounders. I think we're going to get a really good indication from the staff assembly here, not only of what he's capable of in terms of working those relationships he's got, like putting to the test all these people that keep saying what a great guy is.
Right.
Let's see who he wants to work for. But let's also see how the admin is commenting on the situation. Are they moving in a way that looks like, okay, we know we did some stupidness, but we're going to help this guy win. I think their behavior through this, what's leaking out of the program, is going to be a good indicator about how the rest of this is going to go. But I would caution everybody, and this is going to be my last word, if that's all right, Dave. Shrug off both the ridiculous positive narratives and the ridiculous negative narratives. And as hard as it is, swallow the pill that we just aren't going to know for a little bit and give this guy a fair shot. And if it starts to tank, it starts to tank. But that doesn't mean a bad first season. That means if we get around to his second recruiting class and it's rolling in at 14, please don't just miss me with this. Well, they're all better than their ranking, but at the same time, if the guy is showing upward trajectory, if the recruiting does improve, if he's identifying a quarterback, even first and second season, if they're rough, man, if it's heading in the right direction, let's give the guy a chance. Let the data be the guide.
So your point was there if basically recruiting, but even transfer portal acquisition, if the result
for sure, not just recruiting. The portal is huge. Now we need to see a quick roster flip. I'm just saying that, like, if you're going to make a criticism, I think, because I know I'm mad too, but we got to be fair, we got to be reasonable, and it's like, look, if the guy's flipping a roster, and if we start hearing these recruits start to commit over the summer this upcoming summer, man, he might be cooking with gas. So who knows, but I'm also not going to make excuses for this guy, just like I haven't for the last 4 or whatever. I think we're going to know within about 12 months from now where this is headed.
It always seems to be the case, right?
Yeah,
it does. Yep. But I can't tell you how many people, and how many coaches been like, oh, you're telling me this guy's done because his bump class is over? I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much what I'm telling you.
Yeah, 2 years. You can tell exactly what you got in a coach in 2 years.
Yeah, the inputs are probably going to closely correlate to the outputs. We talk about that a lot in recruiting, but it's the truth of the matter. When you look at the coaching staffs that he hires, when you look at the booster contributions, when you look at the support of the admin, we have to take all that holistically and say, is this all looking like it's adding up to the next Urban Meyer? Because it's more than just one man. And if it is, let's be patient with the guy. If it's not, let's meet here again in 3 years and find somebody else.
Well, here's the thing. The way it has played out, you hope that's the case, because, the last couple of days and what we've learned, how this thing maybe have turned out of kind of going rogue against, and not a lot of communication about where this thing ultimately finished. Man, yeah, you're right. It's definitely going to take more than one guy. And if he's got that kind of support where the higher ups chose to go about the coaching search in this way, it needs to pay off.
Yeah, and that brings up one other thing, and I think you remember me. I kept saying this as we were.
Oh, lost you for a second, Bill.
I kept telling people separate what you know
hey, Bill, back
from
up,
what you think you know.
Back up about 10 seconds.
I'm sorry about that. I got a call. I was just saying that, we need to separate what we know about this coach from what we think we know, just like we were having to do as the information was rolling in during the coaching search.
Yeah.
Because a lot of what we thought we knew did not match up to reality. Only what we knew did. And so it's kind of what we're talking about. This guy's going to have to reveal who he is, and he'll either confirm or he will dispel notions that we have about who we think he is and where this program is heading. Now, they have a lot to prove. And again, not just Sumrall, but they're going to have to put all this junk that's going on to bed and get their house in order. If they don't get this thing cleaned up and come to a peaceful resolution between these boosters and everything, he's going to be in trouble no matter how good he is. They've got to fix it. But I'll let you kind of comment on that. That might be a topic for another show.
Yeah, part of this too, should have thrown this in earlier, but it wasn't in the Florida. It wasn't in the Florida piece that they put out to tell us about Sumrall. You had to go, according to ESPN's Pete Thamel, Florida is a 6-year deal with Sumrall that pay him an average of nearly $7.5 million per year, with significant incentives tied to the college football playoff.
And the numbers that were being tossed around for Kiffin were $13 million per year.
In that range. Of course, it got up to like 15 when you thought you were really battling and all that kind of stuff. But then we find out today that it's what, 12 million a year for LSU.
Okay. Well, regardless, 10, 12, it's not nearly as much as or it's way more than what we're paying Sumrall right now. So I just hope that we can put that money.
Run. Okay, Bill. But you guys have a good one. I'll talk to you next time.
All right, man. See you.
Thanks, Bill. I just hope that money gets put into the roster in an NIL and gives this man a fighting chance, because that's the only way it's going to happen is if he can get a competitive roster.
I agree, man, and that's the scary thing. It's going to have to be there. Like I think there can, without the full buy-in that might have been there for Kiffin, I still think there can be enough to be competitive. And then with this whole wait and see approach, I hate that it has to probably fall that way.
That's the problem. I mean, we as fans can have a wait and see approach, but it feels like the people that have to pay it, have to have money, can't have that approach. Like, you're going to have to invest now and win now, because if you play the wait and see game, we're going to be back here in 3 or 4 years, waiting and seeing.
But that's the danger of how they played this whole thing, Ryan. Like, there has to be trust issues behind the scenes. You can't tell me there's not. I know there is.
I know.
After the conversations that I've had, these guys feel like a lot of these boosters feel like they've had the rug pulled out from under them.
Because I know. It's because of the two-man show up there. I know.
So it's just like we got this mess behind the scenes that, hey, credit to Jon Sumrall. I mean, I don't know how much he knew about all this. I don't think he's oblivious to it all. But credit to him for wanting to, I guess, come and deal with it. But I hope he gets the support along the way. But I don't think it's going to fully be there because of how some of this process played out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree too.
And
he deserves it.
Yeah, he does. But also being beaten over the head over and over again of another losing season. Okay, here we go. We're going to give Napier one more year. Well, it didn't turn out. There's probably going to be some fatigue of give, and nothing in return. The ROI has not been there.
Yeah, I get it.
If you're asking for more money for NIL than what you used to have to give 5-10 years ago, and more money for a stadium renovation.
Yep.
I mean, it's wallet fatigue, cost fatigue.
Did we hire a cheap coach for the stadium renovations? Maybe. No.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, I know.
As ridiculous as these questions sound, what did I say? What did I say the last couple of days? Once this happened and it played out this way, they've lost all ability to control the narrative. So any ridiculous question that comes out, to me, is fair game. Because some of the things that we are hearing is ridiculous. So how far does the ridiculousness go?
You're right. This would make one hell of a documentary on Netflix when it's all said and done.
I'm hoping
Lane Kiffin, all three schools. Just
I'm hoping we can all kind of try and I don't know what the timeline is for people not to care, want to care, but of course there's a lot going on. It's been very busy and just trying to follow it all. At some point, I hope in the near future we can kind of share everything we've heard and put out there and then see how ridiculous everything is.
Yeah, I would love that. To me, the whole turnkey thing, just the conjuring stuff, all of it. I would love to just know exactly how this all unfolded. One day, just it would be a very interesting story to me. I believe a lot of people would probably. And after it's all said and done, we'd probably just sit back and laugh at it. I mean, what else are we going to do? We're laughing at ourselves routinely anyway.
Right. All right, Zach, you in here, man? I got you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, man, how's it going?
Not great. The past couple of days have been rough. I know numbers were being thrown out when Lane was a discussion about NIL.
Uh-huh.
Do we know what number we can hope to see? Because it seems like the most successful teams here the last couple of years been spending $20 million plus.
Right.
I guess I have a feeling that we're not going to get that much money.
Yeah, I am going to fully admit I need to do my own digging on that. I've been, first of all, in Gainesville all day yesterday. Didn't get into bed till like 3 o'clock in the morning. Was back up around 8 o'clock. Wanted to spend some time with family today. So, and then trying to follow all this at the same time. Like you, we heard all the ridiculous numbers that were going to be floated out there for Lane Kiffin. I haven't heard much number-wise as far as what this goes towards supporting Jon Sumrall and his efforts into getting talent. So, I mean, I doubt it's as high as what we're like. The conversation we basically just had for the last 20 minutes or so. Don't think it's going to be quite as high as it was going to be under Lane, unfortunately, because of the wait and see approach and buy-in. But and maybe just some orange and blue glasses on for me, at least enough to be competitive from the get-go, and then it's enough for wait and see. Because and look, if the full buy-in is not going to be there, no, this whole fast turnaround and being in the college football playoff, competing for a national championship in year 2 without the full buy-in, that's probably not going to be likely. But I think we can still have enough to see good signs to see where this thing's going. And then maybe that full buy-in comes in. But certainly, as far as hard numbers go, I don't know. I'd be guessing at this moment. Maybe it's something I can kind of chase around the next day or so.
And I know you were talking about recruiting earlier, and I mean, the awards for Napier was, we all thought he was going to be a good recruiter, and even people outside the program viewed Napier as a good recruiter. But the truth is, how many times did he finish top 10 when he was here? Once?
Yes.
When's the last time we even had a top 5 recruiting class?
Will Muschamp.
Yeah.
Like, there's this notion we're in the state of Florida, the logo will recruit itself, and it's just not done it the past 15 years. I have no confidence that this guy's going to be able to come in and give us what we need, because we have to have top 5 classes, if that's through high school or transfer. I just don't know what confidence we have that it's going to happen.
Well, going to your point, I mean, you talked about logo and all that stuff. There's some hard realization that we're probably just not where we need to be when it's all said and done. Unfortunately, I still think Florida can be there. And that's the key point for me. I still think Florida can be among the nation's elite. But to call us, I guess, one of the best jobs among the nation's elite or anything like that, no, we're far from that right now. And I think we just got smacked in the face with that in the last couple of weeks or so.
Are we even sure? I know everybody was pushing towards Lane. Are we sure that we actually wanted him? Because it doesn't seem like we did after the way this just finished.
Well, I think most did. I'm
just talking about the leadership, like Scott and
no,
Gary.
I mean, I was about to go there next.
Yeah.
It certainly looks like they didn't, and
them.
The wool was pulled over our eyes because some of the messaging that I got, and that's why I said you lose control of the narrative once this happened. And now that some of the narrative out there is this is what they wanted all along. True or not, that's the narrative now. You lost control of it. So if Scott and Gary and all those guys don't want to hear it, too bad. Because once you lost out on him, and now he ends up at LSU, and like I said, I was going to be heavy critical of that. Some sense in it all if he stayed at Ole Miss and staying there and being a part of what he built there. And like I said, being their Spurrier, staying there for years, and you're bringing that program to where they've never done before. Okay, a lot of that I can understand. But if you were going to let another school come in, and then the one that was just fired a coach, went through an AD change, went through all kind of politicking and politics that was so proper mania for college football, if you let that come in and still Lane Kiffin, it looks even worse on you. There's no excuse for it. Nothing will be done. We all know that. We can sit here and moan about it, point it out, because it was unacceptable that happened. But nothing's going to change because of it. But it is unacceptable that Scott Stricklin let that happen. But maybe he just didn't let it happen. Maybe the narrative is this is how they wanted it to play out. Maybe that's how we got here. And it has nothing to do with getting beat out by LSU. Maybe we just got, as a fan base, beat out by Scott Stricklin and his process once again.
We got duped. That's how I feel. That's what I think really went down. I don't think they ever wanted him. And they put out all this info. to make us feel better about it. And then, what happened.
And you asked why Scott got a contract extension. I think it's the same reason why we kept Billy. I think it's probably the same reason we're hiring this coach. It's because they're all controllable. I think that's what the boosters want, somebody they can control.
Might be it. It really might be it.
Let me ask you a question, Dave. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Zach.
Oh, no, you can go.
Go ahead, and I'm going to bring, while you do that, I'm going to bring Highway in here.
Okay, I was going to ask you, well, this is kind of jokingly, but I mentioned, you said something earlier that caught my ear, and you can tell me if I'm way off base, but you said you wouldn't be surprised if Urban had some input here to help Sumrall.
Yep.
Are you hinting that Urban might be coming back as an ambassador like Spurrier or some sort of off-field role?
That is something that, so put it this way. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can find it. I got to go back a bit. A lot of conversations.
I didn't know
today.
if you maybe knew something and were just trying to be subtle about it.
There's supposed to be some help along the way from Urban.
Okay, that's good enough for me. I like it.
That's all I've got. That's all that was told to me. I'm going to try and follow up on that. Like I said, there was a lot of just trying to get prepped. I'm behind on some messages that I know I got to follow up on. So I don't know what capacity. I don't know, how deep that goes, but we'll see. And obviously, what's come out, Urban was part of the process in talking to Sumrall about the job.
Urban Steakhouse coming soon to Gainesville, right next to Spurrier.
What's up, Highway?
Hey, Dave.
Hey, man.
Hey, I know there's a lot of doom and gloom in here right now, but, on the bright side, it's not Drinkwoods. So there's that. We do have that going for us.
Oh,
but
funny how that plays out, huh?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. I feel like if this hire, like if everything played out exactly how it did a year ago, and we moved on from Billy a year ago, I feel like the fan base would be a lot more receptive. But we just feel like we got so burned with Billy, that it's going to take a lot. Like all the goodwill that Stricklin had, it's just gone. Like the basketball national title only gets you so far. That's a totally different sport than football. And I was reading somewhere that basketball brings in like 20 something $1 million, and football is like 50 or something. So it's obvious to me that everybody's more serious about football, but I don't know, dude. It's tough, man. It's tough to get excited about the hire. Especially, I'm sure you've seen the picture of Sumrall and Billy and their records go up against each other, their bowl records, their one score game records, their overall records. Now they're almost exactly the same. And it's just, you look at that, it's like, what are we doing here, man? Like, I feel like we're going to be in the exact same position 3 years from now, talking about maybe another Sun Belt coach. And
I know, but there's a lot of this that this sounds like rinse repeat. I mean, that's the truth of the matter, and it may not be. And people can sit here and say it's not going to be, and you can sit here and say it's going to be. We don't know. And kind of going to the Bill's point earlier, most coaches fail. I can sit here and say right now, Jon Sumrall's not going to work out, and more than likely, now if you put it at a national championship or bust scenario. Now, if that's your expectation, you know what? Most coaches don't work out. There's only 3 of them out there right now. So if that's your expectation, you can probably say he's not going to work out, or whoever the hire would be is not going to work out, and you're likely going to be right. So it's not, you're not going out on some long limb and saying, well, this isn't going to work out. You know what? But it probably isn't, given the history of most coaches out there.
The only thing that really frustrates me about the whole process is I don't mind that we missed on Lane. I mean, obviously LSU, they got their crap together real quick and got everything aligned and organized. And then Ole Miss was definitely a big player. And I think Lane really wanted to stay at Ole Miss, but when the LSU money came calling, I think he realized that they would never be able to match what LSU could potentially put up. The thing that really irritates me is nobody else is going after Lincoln Riley. So why didn't we at least give him the time of day if that report was true?
Yeah, I think LSU would have if they didn't get Lane.
But they were never, they were like us. It was Lane or bust, but they were actually serious about it.
Looks that way. Yeah, that kind of goes back to Zach's point. Maybe this was just somebody another up and comer that I don't know if control is the right word, but maybe it is. That they can kind of just shape and mold into their own. Have more say. I mean, I know there's some reports about autonomy and how much Sumrall's going to have, and can he hire who he really wants to hire, all that stuff. I mean, there we go. Like I said, these questions are fair. You lose part of the narrative. Maybe he can. Maybe that is. But with what we've seen and the trust that we've gotten, or lack of, I don't know what to believe.
But what does it matter if you can control a guy if he's only here for 2 to 3 years? What does it matter?
Good point.
I don't know. It feels like there's just a bunch of, for lack of a better word, arrogant people running the program right now. Not just the football program, the entire athletic department.
Absolutely. You're spot on. And that could be good. That could be bad. And I think it's bad. Where we're stuck at right now, it's bad. It's
bad for us. For sure.
Right. Yesterday, it's bad for us right now. Like, hey, in the 90s, a lot of the arrogance worked. Right now, it's not working. Yeah.
I guess it's where the arrogance is at.
Yeah.
It's important. Arrogance in the head coach worked for us. Arrogance in the main booster that runs the things, and our athletic director is not.
Yeah. I'm going to bring in Bull Gator. I want to try and get to, so I got Bull Gator, I think Newth, MJ Skywalker, and then Seth Varnador just hopped in. And I know he sent me something earlier today of, speaking with Sumrall. So I'm going to try and go in order so if everybody can hang around. But if we can, I'm sorry if you've hung around. Let's try and go rapid fire as much as we can with this. Bull, I'm going to bring you in right now.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Bull, man.
Can you hear me?
I got you loud and clear.
Well, as you know, from everything that I've said on the board for the past 3-4 days, I'm not that happy. But I got to say, I don't hate Sumrall. I don't think he's the best choice for Florida. I don't see him as a championship coach, but that's not what I'm most upset about.
No.
I mean, I have no doubt that he's going to do his best. What most upsets me probably came from that peek behind the curtain that a certain insider provided a few days ago on, I guess it was something on Twitter. And for years, I've been saying that there was something wrong with our UAA. I mean, for the past 15 years, it's like, what's going on? I mean, this is not a organization that's working. We all blamed Foley at the end and then Stricklin when he came in, and rightfully so. I don't think Scott Stricklin was the right hire. He was hired as Jeremy Foley's buddy, and he came in, no real on-field success in football before he came here, yet he comes to a football program. He can raise money. But it seems that he's not really the only issue, and he may not even be the biggest problem. I mean, have we turned into Auburn the way they are with Jimmy Raines? It's no secret that his demand for control holds Auburn back. Now, do we have the exact same problem? And that, I mean, is the $15 million a year to be a mediocre program worth it? I mean, really, it's a question we have to ask. Is maybe we need to have a president who will come in and say, listen, Mr. So-and-so, and I don't want to throw all these names out, but you're not going to have control anymore. If he says, well, I'm going to take my $15 million and go, and say, well, we'll miss you, but, this is the University of Florida, not the University of Gary.
Makes a lot of sense, Bull. And there's even some now who say Auburn's kind of calmed down on that in that regard. It's not as bad as it used to be. They're more aligned than they have been. Now, funny thing about that is they thought they were about to hire Sumrall. If Florida gets in the mix and gets Sumrall from Auburn, they thought it was a done deal there. But yeah, Bull, I mean, look, you've been one of the loudest, at least on the Gators Breakdown Plus Discord. And I know I've seen you out there on Twitter too, social media wise. about your distrust in the UAA and your distrust in Scott Stricklin. And
no doubt.
Yeah, and this might be some kind of victory lap for you.
No, I take no joy in this.
No, I know you don't. I know you don't, and I didn't mean it that way. But certainly you were right to question as much as you questioned.
For me, it was always that there was like a rot from within, like we just couldn't get out of our own way, and I couldn't figure out why. And that's why, listen, I so much appreciate what that guy said online, because I would have never known that but for that piece. And I know he backed it up, backed out of it. He had to, probably would be allowed in the stadium anymore if he didn't. But I don't think he had any reason to lie. And I'll tell you, that was so eye-opening to what's really going on in Gainesville behind the scenes, to the point that I'm like, I don't care if you're a secretary who's been there 50 years or someone who was hired yesterday. When we all get this figured out, I hope the whole slate is wiped clean and we start fresh.
I would not be opposed. This was probably
one thing I
one
wanted
of
to
my
ask.
final
You said
straws.
I'm sorry. One thing I wanted to ask. You said at the very beginning. You said that you thought that people in the UAA, there'd be changes in the UAA.
Yeah.
And I was wondering where you got that from, because it seems like they're all part and parcel of one thick as thieves.
Some of that, I think, Chip Howard going away, and that was the first step. What I was told would be one of the first steps into a reformation of the UAA. We'll see where it goes from there. As far as names and roles and all that, I don't have much information on that, but was told that was just going to be the start.
Sounds good, Dave.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to hear what Seth has to say.
Yep. Sounds good. Let me get a couple more in here so I can go in order to try and be fair as much as I can on there, but it's been hanging on for a bit. Bringing Newth in here, if he's still available. Oh, where'd he go? There he is.
Hey, what's up, Dave? Good evening, man.
Good evening. New coach day.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the positives. I like his personality. With Sumrall, we got a foxhole guy. I like that. I think the program kind of needs that. And as far as what we know with him, we know he can use the portal, because I was watching Tulane and Duke, and they were saying how he's had 60 new guys that weren't on the team when that Tulane quarterback was with him.
Yeah.
So he knows how to work the portal.
Well, remember, go back a year ago. Go back a year ago. That was Florida's bowl game. And I remember previewing that game and how many opt-outs they had or guys that were leaving and hitting the transfer portal. Their roster was gutted at the end of last year.
Yeah, and plus when he took over for Fritz and stuff, I'm sure he had to deal with a bunch of guys wanting to leave with the coach leaving. So he's already kind of been down that road before.
Very true. Very true. Seth might know more about that too when we get around to him. So, is that what you had, Newth? Anything else?
Yeah, I'll keep it moving.
Sure?
I want to hear what Seth had to say, but I just wanted to find some positives with him. And I saw first punt, they went for a block punt.
Oh, okay.
Against Duke, so I was like, oh, that's refreshing.
I like it. Let me bring in MJ Skywalker. And then we'll get to Seth. Seth, if you can hang on, please. Hopefully. I don't want to keep you too long. All right. Waiting on. All right. I might go ahead and bring Seth in here. I don't know if Skywalker's coming on in or not. All right. Setting it up right now. Seth, you're good to go if you're ready, because you're already in here.
Yeah, you can hear me?
I got you loud and clear, man.
All right. Are we allowed to be positive?
Allowed to be very, very positive.
Okay. All right. Obviously, all disclaimers that most coaches don't work out and all that kind of stuff. But Sumrall is an interesting dude. So I got the chance. I also cover USF. I don't know if everyone knows that or not, but So I went to the American Conference Media Days, and I was with the guy I was with covering it was previously the college sports editor at DraftKings. He's covered college football nationally, a few different places. So he's been around the block a little bit. We got 20 minutes with Sumrall, 1-on-1 or 2-on-1, just to interview him, talk with him a little bit. And he was like, we both left the conversation thinking this guy was just unbelievable. That dude said that's the next star of college football. He's going to win a ton of national championships. He was really smart, thoughtful, and really charismatic. So on the personality side, I think he's going to do a really good job and be really engaging and probably be a pretty good recruiter. So when you get around these guys in different settings, like in being in coaching, I go to coaching clinics, so you get to be in the room with some of these guys, right? I went to a clinic the year Billy got hired, and Mario Cristobal was there as well. So you got to kind of juxtapose them all. And then I've been in with Norvell as well. Norvell's kind of, he comes across as a little whiny, doesn't really command the room much. Napier came across as really sincere, but not super charismatic. Mario Cristobal was like a dynamo, totally controlled the room, super charismatic. You could see how he was regarded as such a good recruiter and is such a good recruiter. Sumrall is very much like that in person, super dynamic, really smart, thoughtful guy. We talked to him for 20 minutes about a lot of different things. We talked with him about, I asked him about other jobs and how do you construct a roster in the modern day and things like that. And he was really smart, really thoughtful. I think he's really open to the kind of new age GM structure where the GM is in charge of a lot of the personnel side and he's kind of in charge of the coaching side. And then obviously going out and recruiting. I think he's really open to kind of that, the GM having a lot of responsibility in that regard, at least on the contractual and money side, because they seem to have that set up at Tulane. But, I think in those terms, you'll have a chance. I think a lot of it obviously hinges on who he hires a coordinator.
Yeah.
He's a guy that I liked, but I didn't think would get a chance at Florida because I didn't think Florida fans wanted to hear the phrase 12 personnel much more. So,
there's a lot of successful offenses out there that still use 12 personnel, everybody.
Yes. So I know he was kind of heavier in that at times,
but Seth, on that regard, do you see this is some projection as well. My camera froze on the other side. This is a projection as well, I guess. All right, we heard the comments about wanting to have an exciting, explosive offense at Florida. Do you see maybe a change in style he would want to bring since he's at Florida than what he's shown before? Since he's a defensive guy, is it just part of a coordinator hire he had beforehand, and you think a chance of opening it up, getting a more explosive name in here for offense?
Yeah, I think it's certainly possible. And the fact that I'm sure a lot of fans are having, flashbacks to the Jim Knowles and the Willie Corn and all these names being thrown around when Napier was hired, and it kind of being, it's just going to end up being what it was at Louisiana. So it's kind of a wait and see on those things, but I would think he'd be open to it. Obviously, they're going to have the money to go out and pay for a coordinator at a high level, and they're going. It seems like they're willing to invest the money. So we'll see if that investment stays. If so, he could go out and get somebody pretty good. He did a really good job at Tulane. I think a lot of the Troy, there's a lot of stuff going on apparently behind the scenes when he took over. And turned that thing around, did really well. I heard you talking earlier. It wasn't really a turnaround at Tulane, and it wasn't, but they did lose a ton of guys off Willie Fritz's last team.
Yeah, maybe that's what that part was.
The Michael Pratt, who's like set I think he set all the records. Florida fans should remember that name because he was supposed to come to Florida for his last year, and Florida had to pivot to Mertz because he stayed at Tulane. So he left, and they were kind of. I just went and looked it up. They were 96 in returning production last year when Sumrall took over. So I watched his teams play twice. They kicked the crap out of USF and Alex Golish. a couple years ago, totally stifled them and beat them by 30 points or something like that. And then obviously the bowl game where they had a bunch of guys out, but still kind of gave DJ some problems with their defensive stuff. Schematically, I think we're going to have to wait and see what his coordinator hires are. And I think if it is a rehash and he's just bringing guys with him, then obviously your optimism can go down. But I'm going to be optimistic until you kind of see where the staff goes from here. Because I think just personality-wise, he's a dynamic guy. I've seen some people say, like, the best case scenario is he's like a Dan Lanning type.
Right.
That would probably be obviously the, home run 100% best case scenario. But I think he is just if you want the positive spin, he's a good coach. He's got a better record against the spread than Lane Kiffin does in his time as a head coach.
I'm glad you brought that up. I did want to bring that up. What do you make of all the one-score games? Is it a product of being in that conference and talent being so compressed at the lower level? At the lower level,
I think there probably is something to that. The thing, and that is an issue because, they are coin flippy. So it could just be a really run of good luck. So that is obviously something to monitor. I do think the one thing that people need to understand a little bit about the comparisons to Napier is Napier was playing in the Sun Belt West, which is one of the worst divisions in Division I. The American Conference is much better than the Sun Belt overall, and a lot better than the West Division. So his competition at Tulane has been much better than what Billy had. Now, obviously, the one-score game stuff is concerning because they are so coin flippy. So just a good run of luck, can really run your record up. So, but I think most of these guys involve some level of projection. You hardly get a finished, 100%. That's why Kiffin was so enticing because it felt like, all right, this is a proven commodity. It's almost a plug and play. But those are hardly ever the kind of guys you get in these jobs. And we've seen, just even the last cycle, who were the plug and play guys? Right. Lincoln Riley at USC. He's not done great. Brian Kelly at LSU. He's already been fired. So,
all right, you sold me, Seth. I'm sold right there, right now.
So even I just every situation's unique. The ball bounces weird, and I think if you could ask a lot of fans a couple years ago, if you said, all right, Billy's the coach, but he's going to hire really good coordinators, superstar coordinators, I think that's probably a path to success. Now, he did not do that, so he got fired. But, even if he's similar but just hires coordinators that are really good, maybe you're a lot more successful, which I would think you would have been. So,
yeah.
It probably won't work out, but, there's the positive side of it if anybody wants to back up off the Skyway a couple steps.
Sounds good. Hey, thanks for taking some time out, Seth, and hopping in. I'm glad you reached out to me earlier today, and I didn't know you were going to be able to hop in, so I'm certainly glad you carved some time out to give your perspective.
Yeah, put the pitchforks away until the coordinator hires get made at least.
I agree. I completely agree with you there.
All right.
Thanks, but I'm going to keep it sharp.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. And let me see who MJ Skywalker. And that'll be the last one. Thanks for getting back in here, man. Hopefully you're ready to go.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I got you, man. What's up?
Okay. First off, because I'm not knowledgeable as far as history goes, as far as the track record of hirings and all that stuff. Now, our current AD has hired only 2 coaches. Now the third one, right?
Mullen, Napier. Yeah, Mullen, Napier, Sumrall.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right. So some of that is not all on him. Okay, Muschamp, talking about Stricklin, Muschamp, McElwain, those weren't his.
Right.
So, okay. So it sounded like we kind of heaped that on him a little bit, but he wasn't even here. But I'm not trying to protect him. I'm sure he deserves some of the blame, but I mean, a lot of our fan base, and I'm not here to to say I told you so and all this kind of stuff. I'm a Gator fan. I've been a Gator fan since Spurrier, his first day, and I think what we're kind of missing here is a little bit of here's what we tend to do as fans. We'll go and we'll put our 2 cents in, what we did was we campaigned for Kiffin about 2.5 years ago, thereabout. About 2 years. It's been about a good cool 2 years.
For some, it goes back to when Napier was hired.
Right. So we've been campaigning. We've been wanting him for a long time, and let me just be clear. Ole Miss is already calling him a hoe, by the way. But that's the thing. We already knew he was a hoe to begin with, but that was okay by our fan base. We pulled our underwear down and said, "Come get it," okay? If you know what I mean. So we wanted the hoe, okay, and we did not get him, and we threw ourselves out. We said, "Come get it, Lane," and he said no, okay. I mean, I just want to make that clear to the rest of my fellow Gator fans. We need to understand, get a reality check here. We are Florida. We don't have to stoop, okay? We shouldn't have to stoop. You know what LSU didn't do? They didn't stoop, okay? They didn't do what we did. We've done for 3 years. We fawn all over him, like he was just we just had to have that guy. And if it's not clear already, guys, we kind of did a little bit of the same, not just to the same degree, the same kind of thing with Napier. We wanted that guy, okay? But then when he didn't come through, what we tend to do is we'll deflect, we'll deflect and we'll say, "Oh, it was Scott Stricklin. Scott Stricklin hired him," And it's like, no, you guys wanted him too,
No, that was a very torn hire. That was not a big move in one motion, tunnel vision. Everybody wanted Napier.
Right, not quite like this guy. I mean, this been a Star Trek for sure. 5-year mission. So I mean, and the guy, and not only that, I'm sure you probably maybe mention what he's done to Ole Miss. My God, guy.
Yeah, it's gotten pretty bad on that end.
Oh my God, what this dude would have done. And we wanted this guy. And you know what? Even after everything came through, we found out Sumrall was our guy. I bet a whole lot of fans was like, "Is that really real news?" Can we still get him? I mean, they still wanted the guy.
Yeah, that was out there.
And I'm like, oh my goodness. So, so I'm gonna finish with this here. We kind of forced our AD's hand, if you know what I mean. There was so much buzz for this guy to where even if Scott didn't want to hire the guy or even put him on the list, he had to, There's no way he could get away with giving a chance. Okay.
Turns out it may not. He may have backed off on that though.
I think what ended up happening was that this is what I'm saying. I'm trying not to have people. And I don't really care if people don't like me or not or whatever. But I'm trying to see that I think our fan base, I'm putting a little bit of onus on ourselves. We may have overplayed our hand away just a tad bit too much, because just because we want a guy, that doesn't mean your AD, your athletic director, wants that guy, okay? Because you want him bad, okay?
Oh, we knew that. We a lot of us knew that, but we would just hope that he'd wise up. A lot of people knew.
Right.
A lot of people knew Scott.
Well, we
Stricklin
were
didn't
told that he did wise up.
Yes,
and that
yeah. Unless
Right.
every insider was either incredibly misinformed, wanted to mislead us, or just out and out lying. Yeah, that I don't know that that's really that accurate. We were Kiffin was the Gators, not just the fans, but the UAA's target. And unless,
like I said,
this insider was lying,
not only that, I mean,
was the target until somebody took over.
Yeah, many boosters feel the same way. They feel like they were duped. Going back to that storyline of it.
Right, but I mean, you got to incorporate everything to you to look at things from Lane Kiffin's side. You know, is that where I want to go? Okay,
No, there's that angle of it too. You know, like I said, there's some stories out there we don't know. I'm sure.
Because I'm sure there's a whole lot less chaos over in LSU than it is here. I mean,
did you just see what they went through? Did you see what they went through the last month or so?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's something, but I mean, my God, man, we got a lot going on over here.
But credit to them. Don't get me. It's fine to say they had a big mess. They overcame the big mess.
Right. Well, I mean, with the buyout and all that stuff with almost said Chip Kelly, Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
And with all that stuff going on, LSU just trying to get out of paying that guy. Okay. So, that's not how that works. You got to pay the guy to get rid of him,
Right.
So
all right, let me get Gator Aiden in here since he's got his, and I have got to go. It's got to be the last one, everybody.
I don't.
There we go.
Hello, guys. Can y'all hear me?
Got you loud and clear.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I just got out of church, so
good.
You guys have been on for about 2 hours.
Yeah,
right
that's
now,
what I'm saying. So
I'm probably just gonna reiterate.
Okay.
I mean, mixed feelings about today.
Yeah.
It was a good weekend though because we got a big win over FSU. I will never ever take for granted a win over the Seminoles. So that's always nice.
Yep.
But I don't even know if we're ever gonna get the full story on what happened with the whole. With the whole Kiffin saga, man. I mean, it screams to me like sometimes it's Occam's razor. The simplest story is going to be the one that's probably going to be. And national media was hearing all week that that Kiffin was backing off, and maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But the truth is, we didn't end up with him, and we let LSU come in.
Yep.
And drop their balls all over our chins and just steal the guy that we have been in a perpetual love affair with for the past, I'd say, probably 14 months right now. And I mean, unacceptable is an understatement, but you had to make that hire and you didn't do it. And it was important because it meant that there was going to be some serious buy-in from not only the administration but from the fan side of things. It was probably the most hyped hire I'd probably say since Meyer. I would venture to say, but it's frustrating, and I think that we as fans have had to do a lot of soul searching these past 48 hours because I mean, as of 10:30 a.m. on Friday morning, I personally thought, I don't know about a lot of other people, but I personally thought that Kiffin was a shoo-in. Like the stuff that I had been hearing from the administrative side of things, from my contacts, they were all gun-ho that it was Kiffin, and it wasn't going to be anybody else. And I think that you saw that was, I think it was Goodall who posted yesterday that we were scrambling after Condra makes the post and Zach drops the article that we're not pursuing him anymore. That we didn't really have that good of a backup plan, if any, and that's unacceptable. And I don't know what happened with Turnkey. I have no idea. All I can say is that our logo is not showing up on their website right now, and I believe that there may be a good reason for that. But
was it on there before?
I don't know if it was, but it's not on there right now.
Yeah.
So, and I would assume it would be because we have used Turnkey's services in the past. I mean, we've won a national championship with Golden. So I don't know. But yeah, we have to do a lot of soul searching over these next like few weeks to months where we're at as a program. We just have to realize, hey, we got issues deeper than we expect.
Right.
There is no reason with LSU and all of the problems that they've had over the past month that they should just shoehorn themselves into this coaching race and take the guy that this entire program was going to come for.
Nick,
yeah.
How about Nick Saban's endorsement?
Nick was Nick, and I think he would have been able to come home for Kiffin because his message wasn't necessarily, hey, go to LSU. I think that if he could go Kiffin into going home to Florida because his message throughout, and I mean it was a public message. I don't know what he was telling them, on the inside, but his public message was, where am I going to get the best players to come play for me, and where am I going to have the best chance to win a national title? And right now it is LSU. I mean, it's tough because I hate LSU with a passion, especially over these last few years. The amount of stuff that they've been that's happened to them, and the amount of stuff that's been going on in that program, I'm jealous of them. I envy their position on the national stage like this. I do, and I think, and there's no reason why we can't get there. But I'm jealous of them because they can just go in there, drop their nuts on their second biggest rival and their probably I'd say third biggest rival, and just say, hey, I'll take that. I'll take Lane Kiffin. I can get into a toxic war with my former coach and try to not pay him, and then come around and just say, hey, I'll pay $90 million. I don't know the specific contract agreement or whatever it is. I saw the number $12 million per year was thrown around, but the fact of the matter is, you had to get this hire down. It had to be Kiffin, and it wasn't Kiffin. And all due respect to Jon Sumrall, I hope he does well here. And I think he can if there's proper buy-in. And the national media is going to goad us into saying, hey, this is going to be an A+ hire and everything. It's believe it when I see it mode. And I have no reason to believe that there's going to be any semblance of change or anything that's going to be different from, this last guy. Because I said this comment earlier. We hired Billy Napier 2.0 after firing Billy Napier 1.0, and we paid the exact same salary to Billy Napier 2.0 that we did to Billy Napier 1.0 right now. And that's going to be my view. And, he's a fiery guy. I get it. And he's going to be buddy with a lot of, personalities. Obviously, you saw Cole Kublik came out that said it was great hire.
Mm-hmm.
I know Pickles said that same thing. I know Josh Pate's going to say the exact same thing tonight on his show in about an hour and a half from now. But the problem is that we as a fan base expect more. We deserve more for the amount of effort that the amount of effort that we put in to going and watching this team, supporting this team. And there's no reason why we can't be where those other guys are at right now.
Correct.
And it has frustrated me to no end. And this chapter, I believe, is just the fever pitch of where we have seen everything since I'd probably say this past half decade go wrong. We've seen everything go wrong, and it's just, it's nauseating. It's frustrating. Like it sucks. It sucks. And it sucks because we were expecting full buy-in from all levels. I was told full buy-in from all levels. And it turned out to not be that way. And I don't care what the story is. I don't give a rat's ass what happened at the end of the day. Whether he backed off of us, or if Condren never really came around to Kiffin, or if Stricklin eyed Sumrall for the entire time and he didn't even care about Kiffin, which I don't believe. I'm not going to buy that. It was Kiffin until it wasn't Kiffin. No excuse. You had one of your rivals come in and big bro you.
Yep.
And now you have to pay for it. Now you have to listen to not only LSU fans, but you have to listen to the Ole Miss fan base clown you to the ends of the earth, probably forever, saying, hey, when's Lane Kiffin? Hey, I mean, Dan Thompson got to answer a lot of tough questions. Well, I don't know. He's in Europe right now. He's probably just chilling right now. So that's fine. But
All right, let's wrap it up.
You know,
I gotta go.
It's tough.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. But hey, go Gators, though. Big win against the Knowles. All right.
For sure. Hey, thanks for
all we can have. But hey, we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for hopping in. Another Gators Breakdown Plus chat on the day Jon Sumrall gets hired as head coach for the Florida Gators. Coverage all week long. We get to hear from Jon Sumrall and Scott Stricklin tomorrow on Monday, 3:15 press conference. They're in Gainesville. Going to try my best to make it. We'll see. It being on a Monday, kind of difficult. Makes it a little bit harder for me. But we'll see. I got to move some things around and try and get some clearance one way or another for some things. So we'll be back talking about it. Well, I'll see what Will Miles is up to. He's traveling for the holidays still. So we'll see where that is on Monday. But plenty of coverage all week long coming up right here on Gators Breakdown for Jon Sumrall being the next head coach of the Florida Gators. That'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for listening and watching this episode of Gators Breakdown.